Last night, AEW put out the worst Dynamite episode ever. It was also the Full Gear Go Home show. Obviously, a lot of people are talking negatively about it. I haven't seen anything positive other than Doc Chris Mueller from Bleacher Report, who was pretty positive about the show. But granted, Bleacher Report is a property of Warner Bros. Discovery, so I kind of would expect that. We're going to be addressing some tweets that I got. We're going to be talking about AEW Dynamite. This is going to be a long one, probably. What I will say is this: Tony Khan loves constructive criticism. I love giving constructive criticism. I'm just sharing my opinions. If you guys feel like my opinions are valid, cool. If you guys think this is hatred towards AEW, I'm not going to try to change your mind. You have literally fallen into the trap of social media of where you believe everything anti-AEW is pure hatred. So I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise. I think that's a waste of my time and your time. But what I think is important here is actually being constructive. The reason why I didn't like Dynamite last night was also very different from a lot of other podcasters and social media accounts, which if you've made it to 1 minute and 10 seconds of this video because you actually care about this stuff, then I ask you to watch the rest of this video because you will see how different I am from many of the other people who are criticizing the show. With that being said, let's take a look at Twitter because there was a couple things that I feel like need to be addressed. So I had this tweet. It was a response to AEW running smaller buildings in 2025. Long story short, I think it's a good move, but I feel like AEW got here because they've alienated their audience a little bit. I feel like they've fumbled opportunities to create stars. I feel like things get rushed. I don't feel like everything on AEW is on the same wavelength. I think there is a little bit of a cohesive issue with everything on AEW programming. That's okay. All of these things are fixable. Now, one of the common things that you'll see in my tweets, there's a lot of people saying I'm regurgitating old takes. People think I'm grifting here. That's the furthest from the truth. Regurgitating old takes. These takes have been mine since literally 2019. But you might have noticed if you watch my content that they became more prominent around 2022 all the way till now. So the fact that I'm regurgitating my old takes that I've been talking about for years, even when I thought AEW was fucking awesome, that tells you that I haven't noticed a change in those same things. And that's pretty important to note. So let's talk about it. We're going to go through certain tweets. Kate from Fightful, I think. Yeah, from Fightful. I don't know who she is. She says, oh, brother, they expanded from 1 show to 4, have a shit ton more pay-per-views. They have visited markets multiple times, raised prices. Their competition got good again. And the post-pandemic live events honeymoon is over. The ratings are higher when they book for the sickos. Give it up. So the thing about this tweet that is very interesting, and this is where I strongly disagree with Kate, and obviously I'm just addressing this. I don't have anything personal against her. I don't know who she is. But in response to this, yeah, AEW bit off a little bit more than they could chew. I mean, that's what you're basically telling me here. They expanded from just Dynamite to Dynamite Rampage Collision. They do Battle of the Belts, which has obviously been meaningless since pretty much the first time they've done them. They do have more pay-per-views. I actually think having more pay-per-views has been a great thing for AEW and could even be better if they just did one every single month, especially with them doing HBO Max or, the Max streaming service. Yeah, visiting markets multiple times, I think, has been a big issue for them. I do agree with that. Raised prices. Yeah, I mean, everything in society today, prices have been raised. Their competition got good again. That is true. WWE got very good. The post-pandemic live events honeymoon is over. That's been over for a while. AEW during the pandemic did such a great job, and the fact that they actually still had fans in attendance was a really good thing. But the honeymoon's been over for that. I don't think that has anything to do with the decline in AEW's attendance or anything. Kate goes on to saying the ratings are higher when they book for the sickos. Give it up. I don't use ratings in my arguments, so for the sake of this, I'm not going to either. I think ratings are really just pointless to talk about because really, if you watched Dynamite last night, it's the fan reactions that matter. And for some reason, fans aren't reacting to the things that are happening. Now, is that because of the logistics of having such a big arena and a very small crowd? Yeah, probably, right? That probably is a big factor. And when AEW gets into the smaller arenas, that is probably something that will be improved tremendously. But when the crowd isn't reacting, or when the crowd is very quiet, it's really hard to gauge what is actually working and what is not working. So, people got excited, which is funny. People got really excited with Big Boom, AJ, Big Justice, the Rizzler announcement. I see on social media they hate this kind of shit. I think it's harmless. I think it's actually fun for AEW to do things like that. When AEW brought in Shaquille O'Neal, they've brought in celebrities before. This is a viral act on social media. Is it corny? Is it cringy? Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's harmless. For AEW, I don't see it as an issue. People are talking about that as a sole problem of AEW. And quite frankly, I disagree with every content creator and every social media account that talks about something like that, because the truth is, AEW's episode was not bad just because Big Boom AJ was on it and they brought the boom with Private Party. AEW last night was bad because of the things I mentioned. We are starting to see the impact of those things, where AEW has been running on neutral and AEW has not created stars. And the thing is, you're seeing that impact now. There is something called perception is reality. And I think the way AEW presents certain talent versus other talent is a big issue. Will Ospreay has come into this company as a fantastic draw. He's been a fantastic performer. I love his storyline with Kyle Fletcher, right? And the thing is, I thought last night when I see Will Ospreay and them doing an 8-man tag listed as an all-star tag team match, to me, it doesn't make me more thrilled for Will Ospreay and for Kyle Fletcher. I don't. And I'm sorry to say this, but the truth is that feud is awesome. It's a great storyline, but it's how they're going about it where I have an issue with it. There is like a basic level of understanding of storytelling that AEW just simply doesn't do. And you got Ricochet in the mix, and you got Kanosuke in the mix. Mark Davis recently came back and he's in the mix. I mean, this literally is just AEW doing too much when they don't have to. Okay? That's essentially what is happening here. Now, the match was fun. It was fine. But then I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, why couldn't Ospreay and Fletcher be built up where instead of doing an 8-man tag match, maybe they had another segment or they did something backstage? Like, there's just more that could be done there. You know what I mean? It just seems like they're doing too much. And by the way, Lance Archer got traded to the Don Callis family. There really hasn't been much of sense as to why they did that. And, it doesn't really matter because historically AEW told us they don't really care about Lance Archer. So remember, perception is reality. If they show us they don't care as much, then that's very clear. Now, here's how I know this, right? Here's a couple things I've noticed in AEW. AEW really did a good job with Wardlow. They built momentum, and I said, guys, they killed his momentum. Okay, they did that to him. They did it to Keith Lee. They did it to other talent. But then we get Jamie Hayter, who's on the pre-show for All In. And now she's just kind of wandering around Dynamite. Really nothing of importance. Yeah, there might be something there with Julia Hart, but with Jamie Hayter, it's like there's really not much going on. Jamie Hayter is somebody who everybody looked at as a world women's champion when she was side by side with Britt Baker and they were doing that kind of stuff. So it's interesting to me that in 2024, we're still talking about things like AEW not capitalizing on building stars, not knowing when to pull the trigger. Yesterday, a lot of people criticized Bobby Lashley having a handicap match against Cheeseburger and Joe Keys. I thought that was excellent. Because perception is reality. When I see Bobby Lashley doing squash matches and he's just having fun with them, to me, I enjoy it. I enjoy it so much because I think it's a really cool thing, right? I like what they did with Swerve, attacking him from behind. Like, it's cool. It works. The crowd loves Swerve. In such a short period of time, they've built up Lashley and Swerve as a big deal. They're rushing it. They don't have to rush it. I don't want Swerve losing. He just dropped the world championship. He can't really be affording big losses. But Lashley's also in a situation where he's the new guy. He shouldn't be losing a Swerve either. So what are they going to do? Yeah, they can book it in a way where Swerve gets screwed. Maybe the fourth member of the Hurt Syndicate joins. But my thing is, AEW has a hard time letting things breathe. And that's an issue. And Darby Allin versus Claudio. That's I don't care. I don't care about it. You got to do things to make people invested. You got to do things to make people invested. Let's continue looking at Twitter. I thought this was interesting. The same could be said about TNA. Do you see the crowd size and the ratings for Impact every week? Wrestling fans love bringing up ratings. They don't know how to calculate them. They don't even know how it works, but they love bringing it up because it's always like, hey, we won in the ratings. And it's like a moral victory for them. I don't really care about the ratings of TNA or AEW. But I think it is fascinating. TNA did over 3,000 people in Detroit, which is on par with some of the latest episodes of AEW. Is that like now? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody could tell me. But isn't it weird that like TNA and AEW are that close in attendance? That to me sounds a little bit weird. Yeah, I think that's really, yeah. Oh, look, another AEW criticism from someone using talking points from years ago. You don't watch, you don't have an opinion. No week-to-week flow. That's literally been the bread and butter for a month now. Yeah, it's been the bread and butter. It's been the bread and butter because Chris Jericho and Ishii is such a massive storyline. People are really excited about that one, man. They're really, really clamoring for Chris Jericho and Ishii having a contract signing backstage with Renee Paquette, right? I mean, it's really working out in favor for them. Yeah, my talking points are from years ago. It's sad. They shouldn't be, but they are. So that's like the constructive criticism aspect, right? Why are we talking about things from years ago? Shouldn't they be fixed? Now, just because I see it as a big deal, maybe Tony Khan doesn't. That's fine. But if Tony Khan doesn't see it as a big deal, that's probably why you guys are getting Chris Jericho. You guys are getting Chris Jericho and Ishii, ROH title belt. So exciting. So exciting. But then for some reason, you got Jamie Hayter backstage doing random shit. You got Britt Baker doing random shit. The women were not a focal point at all on Dynamite this past week. Week to week flow. It's called consistency, but they don't really have it. Let's see. There were some more tweets. By staying in their lane, they alienated the frustrated WWE fans who were tired and rinse and repeat of Vince booking and started watching AEW. I watched Raw and Nitro both because when times were both good, they delivered. AEW will never reach its true potential, only offering in-ring action. And that's what it is. You got that 8-man all-star tag team match because of the fact that people want, they're selling the in-ring action. But the reality is, Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay is such a great feud, and Ospreay's promos and vignettes and stuff are so damn good. Make me a believer in Kyle Fletcher. That's what you should be doing. You should be making new fans. Kyle Fletcher changed his look to get away from the Will Ospreay comparisons. Do something that makes me believe in Kyle Fletcher as a singles guy in this company. That's what I'm saying. That's what you need to do. And they're not going to do it only by offering in-ring action. Which, by the way, let me just say this. Like, I get criticized for saying more vignettes, but I think AEW literally produces some of the best vignettes in professional wrestling. I think WWE just recently started stepping up their vignettes, but AEW since day one has always been really good with the cinematic stuff. So, yeah, if you just create new stars and you do a little bit more than just in-ring action, I do think people will get excited. Why do I think people will get more excited? Because every time they drop a new Julia Hart vignette, people get really excited. So, yeah, it's not that much of an actual criticism if you think about it. Throwing people in an 8-man meaningless tag match, that's problematic. I don't agree with this. People, AEW's early success was an anomaly, and people are judging it based on a once-in-a-lifetime success story by a startup company. It wasn't an anomaly. They had really good booking. They were creating stars. Hangman and Kenny was the greatest thing ever for AEW. That was like some really, really good stuff. I don't know if I agree with this. I think AEW's biggest problem is WWE isn't bad anymore. Guaranteed, if WWE was still bad, they'd have more fans. Now the booking and storytelling could also be a problem. I just don't think as much. I don't know if I agree with that, because during the Wednesday Night Wars, people were watching both. You know, I think people were watching both. Whether it was live at the same time or on demand, I don't know. But I do believe AEW lost an audience. They're fumbling opportunities to create stars. Storylines feel rushed, and there's zero week-to-week flow. Continuity, forget about it. Lie after lie after lie. Ahmed says this, and unfortunately what he doesn't realize is that, look at this card, guys. Wheeler Yuta is not getting big reactions. Nobody cares about Wheeler Yuta. People care about Orange Cassidy. But what is truly happening here? What stars are they making? Look at this card and tell me, what stars are they making? MVP and Bobby Lashley, already stars. Claudio was already a star. Darby Allin has still yet to win the world championship like that was rumored, so we'll see what happens there. I do think he's a very notable name, but yeah. What stars are they making? Chris Jericho? I mean, I'm looking. I had to remind myself. Julia Hart has an opportunity. You got Chris Statlander, by the way. Don't forget this. You got Chris Statlander and Mercedes, and they made Camille look incredibly dumb. So just remember that too. Don't forget about that. They made Camille look incredibly dumb. So they failed with Camille, Jamie Hayter, Wardlow, Keith Lee. Hopefully he comes back healthy. They failed so many times with creating new stars when there was an opportunity to pull the trigger, and then they decide they'll get back into it at some point later on. That's what we're witnessing here, okay? And on top of that, Deonna Purrazzo came into the company, was supposed to be a game changer. I don't see Deonna Purrazzo on Dynamite. I don't. Look at these tweets. 2024 has been the best year product-wise since the company started. Tons of well-developed stories with banger wrestling. Just keep this up and fans will eventually come back. It's not an overnight thing, though. Zach, I appreciate your comment because I do agree it's not overnight. In the beginning of 2024, they were pretty damn good. But you got two different things happening. You got two different invasion storylines happening. No, it's inconsistent. Why have you tagged Tony Khan like he's going to read this? I don't know. This is literally a damned if they do, damned if they don't take. It's not. It is funny that people are saying that, though. AEW should be in smaller arenas because their events are lifeless. I think people are forgetting that. Their events are incredibly lifeless. Like, the crowds don't give a shit. And it makes it harder for AEW to build a business on that, because if you're building a business off reactions, you're not going to be able to do that. Smaller venues, intimate venues are a good thing. I genuinely believe that. AEW struggles with marketing. AEW struggles with storytelling. AEW struggles with a million things. I keep reading all these excuses, but really it comes down to a fundamental thing. AEW didn't lose its specialty because of anything other than bad decisions. Like, a lot of people are really, really funny in these tweets. I thought this was funny, though. This person was like, yo, you took a JD post and made it longer. How original. Except the timestamp said otherwise. But It's interesting, man. Failure to create stars. That's why Dynamite was bad. People aren't excited. People aren't excited. This was the card they led with going into one of their biggest pay-per-views. That's crazy, bro. Who gives a fuck about Mark Davis? You know what I mean? I like him. I like him and Kyle Fletcher. But nobody really knows who he is. Unless you're a sicko. So they do this 8-man tag match. What's the purpose of it, bro? It's weird. Weird. It's all over the place. I don't know. Very strange, bro. Very, very strange. But just keep in mind, the only person I've seen talk about positively was this guy. So, yeah. Anyways, you guys can let me know what you think down below.